Ladies and gentlemen, we are now live, and I am excited about my next guest. Everyone, welcome to a conversation with Floyd Marshall, and I'm your humble host, Floyd Marshall Jr. Make sure that you follow us on all social media channels, Apple, YouTube, all of that good stuff, Facebook. But again, I'm really excited to talk to the young man that I had with me today. He goes by the name of Belle Vex, and he has an extremely interesting story about how he got his start in the music industry. So I'm really excited to welcome Belle Vex to a conversation with. How are you, sir?
Hey, thanks for having me, and I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing absolutely amazing as always. So when Storm reached out, me and Storm, we're developing this really phenomenal relationship because she always sends me such interesting people. So a couple of weeks ago, she sent me an email. She said, Floyd, I have someone that I really think you should talk to because he has a really interesting story. And when I read it, I emailed, and I normally don't email her back right away. And when I read the bio, I immediately emailed her back and I said, I want to have him on the show because I really think that you can shed some insight on, you know, how sometimes things can happen and then things can go very left. But if
Yeah,
you stick with it and you persevere, it can work out in the end. So, having said that, how did you get your start in the music industry?
I love answering this question because I always have to ask a question before I do. Do
Mhm.
you want like the just cut and dry at the moment it happened, or do you want the fluff before?
No, we want the rabbit hole.
You want the whole rabbit hole.
We want the rabbit hole.
It's a deep rabbit hole. Okay, we got to start to when I was young.
Okay.
Um, I was forced into music, just like you hear as the childhood prodigies. Those the ones who have to practice lots of hours outside of school, and then they have to go to the private lessons and all of that. I'm one of five as far as children go, and my mother threw us all in there.
Mm.
So I had the whole shebang. Private lessons on the cello. So it wasn't even like what you would consider to be a hip modern instrument, unless you consider the cello to be hip and modern. I don't. But that was my instrument. That was the one that I was on. I used to hate the private lessons. I used to just like going, but I was fairly good at it. I was second chair. I could have been first, I guess, if I wanted to be. I don't know. I was a kid and been in the newspaper for it. Did the whole thing, but it made me hate music so much that by the time I was like second year in high school, I think it was, I just straight up quit. I was out. I dropped out. My mother wasn't too happy, but I didn't care. Then, I would go through your traditional adolescent stuff. I would go into college to get away from home. And funny thing is, I went to college to be a sound engineer. I
Mm.
wanted to mix. I didn't want to play. I didn't want to do any of the other stuff. I wanted to mix. And then on the side of that, I was taking acting classes because that was where the true passion was. So, plan A, become a famous actor. Plan B, fall back on mixing music in record labels, studios, and things like that, because labels were still profoundly important back then. Um, so I did like an insane amount of hours all at the same time. I was working three jobs, and I was doing my college lessons, and as well as I was going to a Boston casting over in Boston to do my acting stuff. Okay, cool. Finished my degrees. I'm not going home. I don't want to go home. So I went to California to, of course, be a famous actor. I was out there for about a month. I've been to some cool places. I've been to certain stars' homes. I've sat in on certain musician sessions. I've met, spoke, I kicked it with a few people. And through like tapes and auditions and stuff, I landed a McDonald's commercial audition back east. So I had to fly back out here. I flew back out here, and on the ride home from Boston to New Bedford, Massachusetts, where I was going to be staying at my mother's house, the driver of the car I was in lost control of the vehicle, and we go off of the highway at 85 right into a tree, just
Mm,
front face. I'm sitting passenger side, and this always stays with me. The airbag never went off.
mm,
It just never went off. And to this day, obviously I think about that moment because it never really leaves you, something like that, when you're, is this it? You're going to go face first into this tree and the airbag doesn't go off. You don't forget that. So that didn't take me out of the game yet, but I couldn't make that audition. And I remember the phone call that I had with the place the very next morning was like, "Hey, so are you coming in for your audition or not?" And I was like, "I can't move."
mm.
And thanks for not telling us. And then they hung up and I was like, cool. But
Welcome to the business.
yeah, welcome to the business. So let's mark that down as lesson one. And so from there, I started recovering a little bit. And then I was hit with a second accident. Again, passenger side and rear ended this time. That took me out. So now I couldn't move. I was in bed. I was stuck. And, I don't come from a very good home. So being in bed was miserable, terrible. It was, oh God, if you could just imagine having to hear screaming and shouting and fighting while you can't even take care of yourself at the same time,
Mm,
that's terrible. So you can't exactly get up and leave and exit the situation, especially, like I did the first time. You can't do that a second time when you're physically incapable of. So that's when I started writing lyrics. I was listening to the radio. I was like, all of these songs suck. I don't like them. Everyone's too happy. Everyone's singing and dancing. Screw all of you. This is what real life is. So I started writing. And from there, when I did start recovering, I started partying. So now life, once you start going down on the on the list of life has meaning, you start going down and away from it, things start to become less important. So I started partying more. I started drinking more. I started going out all the time as soon as I could walk again. And then I would just write my experiences and then lyrics, lyrics, lyrics. That was it. But it wasn't until the situation I was in and the medications I were on kind of spiked in opposite directions. So the situation got worse, but the medications became more to
mm.
combat the pain and all of this stuff. Doctors just love giving you more. That, one night I was just it. It was just it. So I downed pretty much every single pill I had. And I was like, I'm done. I'm out. But I survived. And it was that very next morning that I wrote an actual first song. Because it was like I was a completely different person that very next morning. I was over all of the other stuff. I was like, okay, been there, did that. That's gone. That person, he succeeded, whatever, he's out. Now it's just me. I'll take it from here. And so I did. And every day for the next 12 days, I wrote a song. And I used whatever I had. I used any knowledge I had, any skills I had to put those songs together. And that would be my very first musical project as Belle Vex. And I've
Hmm.
been him ever since.
So let's go back because you said, okay, you build up to a point and then you take all of these pills. So was the the fact that you tried to take your life, did it go a little bit deeper than the fact that, okay, I had these two accidents, I'm in pain. What was the underlying reason in your mind, thinking back on it like right now, what was the underlying reason in your mind to say, because you're a young man, I'm done with this? What would make you get to that point? Because I listened to a couple of interviews you did, and I understand that you had a pretty rough upbringing. So was it just a culmination of your upbringing and then things not working out? And then you just get to this point where you've been drinking and you have some pills and you're like, you know what, fucking, I'm done, and you just
So
say that's it.
every time I do an interview, I always end up throwing dirt on like my family. And I'm always like, I don't know if it's a smart thing to do that, but at the same time, it's like, it's the truth. Dirt is dirt, right?
Mhm.
It's what happens. So, I come from a household of abuse. So it's not a place of love like uh, I would say, a happy family would have. I
Mhm.
don't have that. and, you know, one of five, not alone in it. I was raised to compete with the siblings, so it was always fight or flight. And, you know, my biological father, we separated from him when I was about 10 years old. So like that's a really young age. My younger brothers, they don't even know him like that. They know him now, but
Mhm.
they grew up for a little while not really knowing who he was. I was kicked out of my house at 15 for the first time. Came back, and the reason I left for college was, no, that's interesting actually. So I'm a third time dropout, and I always say I have one regret in life. So video games, right? They're huge now. Uh, After I graduated high school, I was really good at this one video game, Soul Calibur, and I used to go around to places in the United States, and I would beat everybody. And this is a brag. I'll throw it down as a brag. I've beaten champions. I was really good at this game. I beat one of the whichever world champion it was at the time, or whatever champion it was, at a convention, and he pulled me aside. He said, "You should get sponsored to play. I can give you the connection." And I remember I told him, "No, man, I gotta go to school. It's what my mom wants."
Mm.
And this was right out of high school. I went to my first college then, but I ended up dropping out because it was boring. I was at home. Home wasn't any better. And then a second step man comes into the house. And this guy is, by now I'm over 20. And this guy just walks in as if he's going to be daddy now. And he was just as abusive as the last guy, if not. But me and my younger brothers, we were old enough to fight. I never wanted to fight because, I fought for so long, I was over it. I fought almost every day growing up. I'm done with it.
Mm.
I'm good. So one day I get my wisdom teeth pulled, and he's on his stuff, and he just starts wailing on me in the kitchen. And my girlfriend at the time calls the cops. So he goes to jail. I'm not letting this man back in the house, but my mother chooses him over me. And she's like, "Just do the right thing." I'm like, "Woman, I am doing the right thing."
Right.
But the whole family looks at me. "Do it for your mom." I'm like, "Do you know who this motherfucker is?" Excuse me. I don't know if I can
No, we
swear,
do.
but
It's an adult show.
yeah. "Do you know who this guy is? Like, this guy is not good." And it's like, I'm the only one who can see it. "Oh, but we want your mom to be happy." Then keep this guy away.
Mhm.
But no one's listening to me. Everybody wants it again. So I said, "Fuck it, I'm out of here." So that's when I went to school for music. And I remember there were holidays coming up. I'm not going home. I used to stay at friends' places that I met in college. I went all the way to Maine one time because I'm not going back to that house. Shit can only get worse.
Mm.
It's not going to get any better. So after college, we can add this to the list of bad things. My cousin, one of my best friends, I find out that he killed himself right as I'm about to board the plane to go to California. I already paid it. I'm already getting on it. I can't turn around. I'm missing the wake. And that's a hit. I compartmentalize that. That's in the back of my head. That'll come back later when I start thinking about things. And then I go to California. Things aren't any better out there. I'm out there by myself with one family member, a cousin of my mother's, whom, she was cool, but everybody's got their own shit going on. And sometimes I don't know if they don't understand the position of other people. They just take it out on other people. One of the two things. So it's whatever. I come back here for the audition, and then the car accidents happen. Okay, cool. So I'll elaborate more on the effects that I was going through. So now I can't move. I'm back at my mother's house. I tell you, between this man slamming my mother's head against the wall, accusing her of cheating, getting drunk every day,
Mm.
her not doing anything about it, me unable to do anything about it, and then them not taking care of the house, I literally unable to move on a bed that has bed bugs. Then they get kicked out of the place that we're at. And where am I supposed to go now? Because they're not taking me with them. "Oh, you got to go somewhere else. So you can go stay with your grandmother." So then I go live with my grandmother, and it's not any better there. She's accusing me of sneaking around the house. No, I'm not sneaking around I'm doing nothing. But the fact that I'm not doing anything is, I guess, means to accuse somebody of sneaking around the house, right?
Right.
I'm not doing anything. Literally can't. And now with the doctors, you have a sense of depression kicking in. And they're giving me more meds. So excluding what I know now, just speaking just from that point, the thoughts start kicking in and I start, older childhood memories start coming up and things are getting worse. And now finally, my cousin's suicide hits me. So to get over that, I'm partying. So now I'm taking medications for the pain and I'm partying. But that's fine because it gets to a point at one point where I'm just completely numb. And no one cares. And I start going to a therapist. And this is a true story. This man, after we talk for a little while, I say to him something, 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 and he goes, well, I would label that a genius. And I said, why? He says, a genius always finds a way.
Mm.
And I said, I wouldn't call myself a genius, but sure. So I stopped going to therapy. And things are now, it's like, you got to go to work. I'm like, I can't work. So I try to get a job. I can't do anything because my shoulder's immobile. And this was a job sandblasting iron.
Mm.
So not for lack of effort, I made it about 2 hours in and the pain was just horrible. So I'm not going back to that job. More partying ensues. Now I'm going to clubs with my friends. And it's just more. My cousin from across the states comes over. This is the only person to ever talk to me about this. He looked at me, he said, you look like something's wrong. I said, I don't feel anything. And that was it. I don't feel anything. I said, nothing here is real. It's all fake. I am just emotionless and like a puppet doll.
Hmm.
And like at this point, everything has lost all meaning. And even the songs I was writing, they were just meaningless. And like I said, once you start going down that line of value, you get to a point where you value nothing. And at the point, I didn't value my life. So I gambled. I said, you know what? I'm done. I said, if I die today, the world still goes on tomorrow. So I'm going to try this. If it works, problem solved. If not, well, then I'll never do it again. And that's what happened. I took the pills and I had the trippiest night of my life. Like I've never taken anything like ayahuasca or mushrooms or anything like that. I've never done cocaine. I've never done the heavier drugs. I've just, drank till I blacked out.
Mm-hmm.
I saw aliens. I saw swirls. I was texting everyone that I knew. People were like, do you want me to send 911? I was like, sure, but I don't know where I live. Mm. And I woke up the next morning. I didn't even vomit. I was just like, ugh, I felt worse. And then that was it. I was done. I remember from that moment, I even took my college degrees in that moment and I just threw it away. I started throwing everything away. I started destroying everything that was belonging to the former me. Mm-hmm. And that was it. I was like, I'm starting fresh. And then I started doing the music, like I said. Now, of course, it doesn't get any better because that's how I started making music for me as Belle Vex. Before that, I did some songs before that, but I did it as a joke in the anime scene, and I would tour anime cons and perform these jokes, whatever. That's a kid thing. That wasn't serious at all. This was serious now. I was going to fix my life. I wrote these songs to save myself. Mm-hmm. Of course, my family doesn't change just because I do, right?
Right.
That changes on me. It's up to them to change for themselves. So now I'm asking for help. I tried to kill myself. I just want to let you know. And the response that I got was, you're not doing that in my house. Get out. So I got kicked out for talking about it. Now I'm on the street. I called my mother. I need a place to stay. Grandma kicked me out. Well, we don't have any room for you. So-and-so's mom is here. What do you mean you don't have any room for me? I'm on the street. That's it. Bottom line.
Wow.
Go ahead.
No, please finish. No.
I lived on the street for about a month. Okay. And through, making deals and offers, I got as much as I don't have the close relationship that I have with him now, I do got to give a shout out to a guy, Kim Johnson, that I know, because he he did give me the roof over my head for a little. It was like a hallway over my head
Mhm.
to stay while I started getting myself back up. So I helped him with his business stuff, and he did whatever, just because I changed doesn't mean everyone else does. So things
Right.
didn't mesh there. But I did meet somebody whom we meshed with, and he actually let me stay in his place while we worked on music. I
Yeah.
was able to film my first music video with his camera, and that was David Mojo Beats. That's his name. He's a big hip hop. So like what a lot of people don't know about me is the actual community that was there for me was
Mhm.
the trap and hip hop community. There wasn't anything else. Like street, the street was there. I survived off of like the street and the community of the street, and like that's what it is. Um, they let me stay in the studio. I kept my nose clean, you know, didn't involve myself in anything I wasn't supposed to do. Anything they wanted to do, that was all them. I just helped them with their music. I would teach them the stuff that I knew from
Mhm.
college. I would help them mix their sound. I would sit there and we would just all do music.
Right.
That's how music saved my life. That's how my career actually got started. And that's how I was able to shoot my music videos. That's every time I did another step, I just kept going. I never thought about what was happening back there. And every step forward I took opened up a new door of opportunity. When I released my song Blacked Out in 2013, I had A&Rs calling me, telling me come down to Maryland to record a demo. And then I had someone in New York was like, hey, I can do what they could do in Maryland better than them, so you should come out here. So I went out to the one in New York, and that guy, we don't speak anymore because he actually turned out to be one of those managers that takes stuff from you and
Mm.
leaves. That's exactly who he was, on some excuse. Well, I'm not a manager, I'm a marketing agency, and just disappears. Like you're not. When you take control of someone's assets like that, I'm pretty sure you're past marketing agency.
So let's talk about that
Yeah,
because
please.
you've talked about being cheated, being
Hmm.
stolen from, songs copied. So looking back on that and fast forwarding to right now, has that made you a more savvy business person when it comes to who you deal with and where your music goes because of those experiences?
I think somebody looking on the outside, looking from the outside looking in, right? I think they would call it savvy
Mhm.
because a smart businessman knows when to say no, right? For me, I don't call it savvy, and I don't consider myself a smart businessman, to be honest. In fact, I personally think I'm so terrible at business that I
Mhm.
just don't do business. And
Mhm.
what I kind of narrow it down to is like, if this is a really big business decision, I don't do business. So no. If I can't trust myself to make this decision, knowing what this is going to do, the answer is just no. So what I end up doing are moves that I think will take me forward, and
Mhm.
that's it. So, for example, I worked with a PR company when I was first getting started. They charged me $1,000 for the first month just to observe me. That was a big lesson. I stayed with them for a couple of months, so you figure that's $4,000 to $5,000. I was working my ass off to make this money to pay for this stuff. That was a bad stain on my business sense. So things would continue, and then I sided with this guy in New York, and mind you, he put on the airs, man. He took me out to Jungle City Studios, the Alicia Keys Studios. I was in Diamond District almost every other weekend, so I would hang out with like the Heat Makers and Fred the Godson RP. So like those were the people I was around constantly. And ours from the Heat Makers, he actually taught me quite a bit about the industry. We would have our little chats and whatnot. So I have him to thank too. And then this man, I gave him $6,000 and he
Mhm.
disappeared. So that was another hit to my business ego. And I was like, oh, do I really know what I'm doing? So then I got a lawyer to try to go after him. And then because of the way he set up his business structure, I actually couldn't go after him.
Hmm.
So then I got a hitman. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
That's another show.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I didn't do that. So I moved on, and the lawyer was like, I'll introduce you to someone at Sony. And then I spoke to someone at Sony. They were like, you got to get out and do shows. But believe me, my inner gut at this point, having taken all those hits from business, I was like, where I'm located, the type of music they make here and doing shows, that's a no. And I was like looking forward. I'm pretty sure shows are going to die out, live tours. I'm like, with the way the internet's blowing up,
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure touring is gonna be for catalog artists and not really for the independent artists mostly. Like the independent artists who are like rappers and bands, they're gonna thrive doing shows, I think, at some point, just by the nature of how those communities are. But for somebody like me who tries to make top 40 radio songs, I don't think like the competition gap doing shows is like the independent and then the catalog artists. Like it's just
Okay.
too wide. You need to know somebody to get in as an opener if you're lucky. You're not going to. I go and do a local show around the area that I'm in, and I'm going to be surrounded by hip hop artists or folk bands. Like I'm not John Mayer. It's not going to work for me.
Right.
So I didn't do the shows. And I think this is how good this gets. I asked one person to come to karaoke with me because it was going to be not karaoke. What is it, like open mics? Come do. I want to do an open mic. I want to test this stuff out. Oh yeah, go. I'll go. I'll go support you. He dips, leaves for like 4 hours, and comes back at the end. Big mistake, dude. Because now I'm sitting here alone, bored. So I had some drinks, and then I did a terrible performance.
Okay.
So I have those hits to my business sense where I'm just like, now I don't think I'm savvy in business at all. I just know when to say no, and that's it.
Mhm. Well, you know what? That's a savviness in and of itself because what you're doing is you're actually building a sense of what works and what does not. And you may just be a little cautious because frankly, there aren't too many business people that are worth their salt that didn't describe some of the things that you just described. The only way that you learn how to not have something happen to you is you have to actually go through it. And that really leads me to the next point when you went and did the Dunkin' Donuts audition. And you
The
said you didn't
infamous
like
Dunkin'
coffee, right?
Donuts
But see, that kind of
audition.
ties into what you just talked about because what you learned was you got to be true to yourself.
Yes,
You see what I'm saying? So can you talk about that?
yeah, let's. I wanted this story to be a secret forever. So much so that I was hoping that no one would ever remember it, from the casting directors to anything. But I was like, there's a lesson here, and I need to share this lesson because it's a lesson that drives a lot of my decision making. I landed at I went to an audition for Dunkin' Donuts, and don't trust mentors. No, I'm kidding. I go in, and for the first audition, they're asking the people, what type of coffee do you drink from Dunkin' Donuts? And one by one, they're going down the line of their answer, and they get to me, and I'm just straight up like, I do not drink coffee. And at the time, it's true, I didn't drink coffee. I was like, I drink tea, and they're like, tea, and I'm like, yes, tea. I drink it black with sugar, 6 teaspoons of sugar, and it's amazing. And they were like, all right. And I get the call back for the second audition. So now I'm excited. Now I'm like, yeah. And I want to make sure I kind of land this role because again, I'm still that kid who wants to be a famous actor, whatever. Landing a Dunkin' Donuts commercial would be huge for me at this point. These are the thoughts in my head. So I go to my mentor, I go to one of my acting coaches, and I'm just like, this is what I landed. What do I do? And his advice was, you got to give them what they want. He said, acting is about playing a character. You got to be what they want for the commercial. So upon his suggestions, I got a haircut, and I went in, and it got to me, and I said, I drink this kind of coffee, and I totally stole that from someone else. And I didn't give them my answer, and they looked at me, and I'll never forget this look with the biggest disappointment. Coffee, yeah, I didn't get anything. I'm sure you can imagine why.
Oh, I know exactly why because you weren't authentic.
I wasn't
And
authentic.
say it again.
I wasn't authentic. No.
Yeah, you weren't authentic, and they. Here's the thing about this business, and you can sit and you can watch a musical performance, and you know when someone's dialing it in, or you can watch someone acting on television or in a film, and you know when someone's dialing it in, or you know when someone is being their true selves. Your acting coach gave you such bad advice. Yes, you are there to sell a product, but the one thing, and especially with commercials, because I used to do commercials, the one thing that they want for commercials is you to be you. They
Yes.
will
And
figure out the rest.
the
And
thing is that I'm sorry, go
No,
ahead.
please, no, go. No,
I was gonna say that the thing is that I didn't realize that
yeah.
like it's never told to me, and this is
Mhm.
why, you know, you have to have somebody you trust. They already liked me.
Right. And
I
they liked
already
you.
I already went against the grain, and
Yeah.
I already said something else. I already wowed them. It was almost like they wanted to show me to someone else, and that was it.
And you know what? I can actually see how that commercial probably would have played out if you had booked it. Not liking coffee. They would have
And
probably had you sample some different coffees. Which one of these do you like? Oh, I like this one. This is not bad. You drink tea. So they would have had you sample some coffees, right?
yeah.
The
I
commercial probably would have been this. Hey guys, I'm not a coffee drinker. I'm a tea drinker. But I went to Dunkin' Donuts and I tried this particular whatever coffee, and now I'm a convert. See, they would have built an entire commercial around the fact that you didn't drink, you only drank tea until you drank Dunkin' Donuts uh extra Colombian black coffee.
See, I'm gonna redeem myself right now on your show. For Dunkin' Donuts, you're gonna take this right now and you can use it
Okay,
for your
Dunkin' Donuts.
Instagram ads, okay? Hey guys, I'm Belle Vex and I used to only drink coffee. I mean tea. Oh yeah. Hey guys, I'm Belle Vex and I used to only drink tea. Now I drink caramel coffee, light and sweet, and it's probably the best coffee I've ever had, but only from Dunkin' Donuts. Enjoy.
That's a commercial. And trust and believe that's what they saw when you said, I don't like coffee. That's what they saw. Because think about this. How many other people don't supposedly don't like coffee? And they're sitting there saying, this is a gold mine because we can convert some tea drinkers to coffee. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the numbers, and they're sitting there looking at you like, okay, well, this guy doesn't like coffee. We could use that. We could use that. See, because I used to produce, so but it is what it
I,
is. But it's a learning lesson.
I only know it now. But yes, it that I tell you, that is a root learning lesson. So I have the video game thing, right? Follow your dreams. Follow
Mhm.
your heart, not what somebody else wants you to do, right? Go,
Absolutely.
go do those video games. It's $1 billion industry now. I would have
Mhm.
been a professional player. Uh, I have the Dunkin' Donuts story, and I have the other lessons that I've learned in life, and I live by the Dunkin' Donuts story. It's you know how easy it would have been for me to write a "Shake Your Ass" song. So easy, but I never did because that's not what I'm about.
Right.
I think it's, I don't even live that type of lifestyle. Do I party? Yeah, but that's just not, you know, I I party and I like party and I like singing about partying and I like singing about, the women I've dated and the heartache I've gone through and, rebelling against people like the people I used to be, basically. Rebelling against myself in a way, like the former me. Sometimes I look back to what I would say to a younger me, like, don't do that. Stop. Be you. That's the type of music I make.
Yeah. And see that's interesting that you say that. There's a gentleman that I listen to. His name is Ed Milet. Uh, I'm very big into personal development. And one of the things that he always says is things don't happen to you, they happen for you. And even with everything that happened to you as a child, as a young, preteen, teenager, young man, what all of that did was build you into the person that you are now, making the type of music that you're making now. Because you just said it. The type of music that I'm making is for that younger me to let them know that, hey, there are going to be some pitfalls. Now, I'm a father, and when you're raising your kids, both of my daughters are grown now, but when you're raising your children, you try to tell them where all the landmines are,
Hmm.
but unfortunately, they're going to step on some of them because that's life. But they learn what not to do the next time. So your music, and that leads me to my next question with your music, because it has a through line of being an individual and the pursuit of originality.
Hmm.
Why?
That's who I am. I mean, it's hard, right? Because that's one of the question of why does it have that, it sort of goes back to how I used it to save myself,
Mhm.
and then I saved myself. So now it's time to make these songs and be a voice in the noise. That's pretty much it. I remember I did a project. It's not on the internet anymore because of because I rebranded at some point and I shouldn't have. But I don't regret it. It was a good move. But it was called 15 Minutes of Fame. And it was a concept album that only one person ever hit it on the nose. It was about 5 songs, and it told the story of a woman who moves out west to try to live her dreams, but ends up getting swept up by the temptations provided by the Hollywood industry. In truth, it was me. I was just telling my story in those songs, but it was very well hidden. Everyone, I mean, one person called me a sexist at the point. I was like, I don't think you listened to this song. But that was literally just a warning. Just this is what could happen to you if you do this. And even when you go on from that, even when I knew I had to rebrand and kind of update my sound a bit and start making those next set of songs. So from something new to mirror, they're all lessons. They're all something in there, me telling you, hey, seize the moment. Seize the moment. That would be probably the greatest underlying theme of all of those songs. The be you, seize the moment. And it's just, how many times can I say it? Really, that never gets old. Just be you, seize the moment. Watch out for this, watch out for that. Cool was great because cool was me talking to, my brothers, not from my mother, but, your friends close enough as family, talking to them, being like, hey, we had a lot of fun when we were younger. That was cool. And then it's also addressed to, the women that I've known and been like, yeah, because I've had a lot of fun and because I've had a lot of baggage, I know you do too. So don't judge me for it because we've all done it. That's what cool is about.
Mhm.
Mirror is just, we've all dated someone in the past. We've all made mistakes. We've all acted in a way. Guys, especially, when you get your first couple of girlfriends, you fall into love land, or, I guess 2024 now, you get your boyfriends, whatever. You get your whoever. I don't care. Everyone's just a soul in a flesh body. And you go crazy for them.
Mhm.
And you say things that maybe you wouldn't normally say. And, being who I am now, again, going against the grain of authenticity, I wouldn't do that today. But back then I was young and I was, I'd have my moments in love. And also with that passion comes the mad passion that you get on the opposite side when things don't go your way. And there's sure arguments or whatever. Thank God I've never was a violent man like that. I don't have
Mhm.
that kind of history. But mirror was like, the line is, I want you to know who I am without love getting in the way. Because if I'm not head over heels in love with someone, I'm fine.
Mhm.
I'm about as chill as it gets. No problems whatsoever. And that's, my message to everyone is like, really ask yourself, what kind of chemicals in your brain are getting in the way? Dopamine, serotonin, anything prescribed by doctors. Like, there is a deeper meaning to that song. It's just I know how to write it as if I wanted to give it to a high schooler or something.
Hmm.
Something new. Something new was the rebranding. And just like, even the way it starts, just take a look around. It's like, that's just like a call out to it's, sometimes it's time to change.
Yeah, but you know what? You said something. I'm going to push back slightly. You
Please, please.
said I wouldn't have changed it, but here's the thing: you change, you grow, and you evolve.
You
So
do.
when you wrote those songs at that time, it served what you needed at that time. But as you grow and you grew into yourself, that no longer served you. So you kind of transformed it into something that did serve you. And it's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Now, when,
Oh,
when you talk about love and relationships and the newness of it all, I married my childhood sweetheart. We've been together for 43 years, met her at 15, and we've been together ever since. Now, here's the
That's
thing.
awesome.
Even in relationships and committed relationships, everything that you just explained happens because the chemicals are still there,
It's still there.
but everything's directed at that one person. So, relationships are funny. So the fact that, you wrote songs, you know, about, love and relationships, I find that phenomenal. That's awesome. It just lets me know that there's actually hope for the younger generation. Because my wife and I talk about this all the time. My gosh, what's wrong with these young people? But you guys give me hope that love is still permeating in it. It's still in the air, and you just gotta take your time until you find that right mix.
You know what's interesting about that? I remember it was around when I was getting started. I had conversations with this DJ Swivel at the time. I believe that was his name way back in the day.
Mm.
And I would watch some of his videos, and he would talk about how he's writing a song for so and so artist or so and so artist. And at points in time, I'd be like, how would someone write a song for me? I don't think they can, but I would have to say, like, usually my verses involve stoking fear, and then my choruses present the hope. So I believe that I like what you said there, letting people know that there's hope, because there is hope. That's
Mhm.
true. There is hope everywhere. Even in the darkest times, there's hope. There's always going to be hope. There's that story of Pandora's box, and that story is important to let you know that it's not going to be easy.
No, Pandora's box is basically a tale of renewal.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Things. Here's the thing: everything has a season.
Mhm.
Things will get bleak. There's a spring, summer, winter, and fall in everyone's life. And I'll go back to the quote that I told you earlier about things don't happen to you; they happen for you.
Yeah, I love that
And
quote. That's
and,
good.
and one of the things that he explained with that, because he interviews a lot of really high powered people, and they've had a lot of things happen in their past. Oftentimes, when you are in the midst of something horrible, you cannot see the silver lining. But when you go through what you go through, and this happened to you, you went through everything, you took the pills, and then you came out on the other side, and you kind of had a rebirthing. Now, at the
Yes.
time you were in it, you were like, look, if I end tonight, it is what it is. But that wasn't what the higher power, God, whoever you believe in, that was not what he had in store for you, because she knew that you had a purpose, because the music that you're making
Mhm.
is speaking to someone.
Yes.
And if you had left us at that time, everything that you're doing for someone, things don't happen to you, they happen for you. So right now, your music isn't happening to someone, it's happening for someone, because someone can turn on one of your songs. They could be at a certain point in their life, and they can turn on your song and they can listen, and they're like, wow, he gets it. And if he gets it, and I'm looking at his life, and he is where he is, then maybe things can work out for me as well. Your thoughts?
I sure hope so.
Mhm.
That's it, because that's the reason why I do it. I could have hung this up. Um, I could have quit or walked away. But I don't. I think I need to be here, and I think I need to keep doing it for a while. I think someone out there needs it.
Mhm.
I hope. That's how I move, because it helped me. It could fall on deaf ears, and maybe one person can hear it, but if the one person that hears it, if it helps them, even if it, let's say I make something, and even if they stop for a second and they say, this song absolutely sucks, I could do it better, and they go and write their first song, then it worked. It sets them on their path, because that's how I got started. I said, these songs absolutely suck. I could do it better. So there's only all good roads, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, I sure hope so. That's my thought on that.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing about that. I listened to your interview, Creators on Creators,
Yeah,
Creatives on
great.
Creators.
That was a good one. I like that
And
one.
she asked you a question,
Ooh.
and you kind of just explained it. She said, "Do you think this is your purpose?" And you told her no.
Oh, I still believe it's not my purpose.
But see, here's the thing. If you are moving in such a way that people are being served,
Hmm.
that's your purpose. It really is, because you're a servant. Now, it may expand and morph into other things, but at
Hmm.
this point in time, your purpose is to be a servant for other people. Now,
I
you may not want it.
Well, I never thought of it that way. I mean,
Well,
I'm in the learning mode now. Teach me more.
but that's the all those books back there serve a purpose. But oftentimes people are really not aware of their purpose because they're so deep in it.
Mm,
But people like myself on the outside looking in, as you're talking, I'm saying, "Oh yeah, see, yeah, yeah, he's helping people." And the beauty of it is you're not looking for any accolades or anything like that. You're just doing it.
I won't lie. I'm looking for one accolade.
Okay.
Well, just Wikipedia.
Okay.
I
Well,
feel
yeah.
like I feel like I've earned that. But that's it.
Yeah. Oh,
Continue.
good, good, good. But we're almost done. So I just have a couple more questions for you.
Yeah, by all means.
You talked about earlier how acting is your first love, and you were wanting to do a movie slash music video. Can you talk about that? Whatever you can talk about. Can
I
you,
shouldn't have said anything.
bro? I research. I do my research.
Yeah, so that's the project I'm working on now.
Mhm.
I already got my brand new camera.
Okay.
I'm gonna I'm gonna I'm gonna try to shoot this thing in a timely
Oh,
manner.
excuse me. I need to stop you. Try. No. You're going to
Oh,
do
are
what?
we
You're going to
okay?
shoot it.
I'm gonna either succeed or fail
There you
at
go.
shooting this in a timely manner.
Yes, sir.
I haven't. I dropped my music video for Nobody But Me earlier this year, around like February or something like that. But since then, I haven't released anything, and I
Mhm.
do have the songs here. I just wanted to do it as like a short film slash music video. So it's a really cool thought I have in my head,
Mhm.
and I've already spoken with some people I want involved in it. There's just complications, of course, when doing anything indie, or a lot of the stuff that I do by myself. I don't think a lot of people know this, but I'm very hands on, and sometimes I have to be hands off. This one, for right now, it's entirely in my hands. So even though things are planned, there's scheduling, there's financing, there's just getting things completed. But that's being done. I don't want to give too much away about it, but so far I plan to include at least 4 songs.
Nice.
It's fun. I'm excited about it. I can see it in my head. I got some cool things planned for it. Content for 2 of the songs have already been shot, so that's good, and they look great. So
Okay, beautiful. So, what would you tell someone who has decided that the music business is the business that they want to come into? What advice, if any, would you give them?
all right, first I'd say quit immediately. Go do something else. And then they'll come back and say, "Nah, man, I really think this is for me." And then I'd tell them, "Okay, well, one, make sure you want to do this. 2, throw away any thoughts you have on the industry because it doesn't work the way you think it works. A lot of the stuff in the industry, I don't care whoever comes at me for this, a lot of it's fake. So don't think for a second you can contend with a lot of the big numbers because those big numbers can pull big numbers off of, you know, fakeness. But that's part of the business strategy. Fake can yield true results. But when you want to do it real, so you want to make sure you have a longevity in it, you don't want to play into a lot of, ironically, you don't want to play into advice because some people out there are giving you advice so they get their views up giving advice. It's just a good tactic. I could create an Instagram that gives advice in the music business and that will get a bunch of views, but really I'm just getting views for myself. That was the plan. So the best way to actually get started in the music business is Get some songs done. I don't care how you do it. I don't care if you do it yourself or if you pay producers to produce them for you. Get your songs done. Then start showing them to people. I don't care if you show them on social media or if you show them on, in person. Show them to your friends and family first, just so you get comfortable showing them, because they're not going to give you a rejection. And if they do give you rejection, take that rejection serious, because your friends and family don't normally give you rejection. Fix it. And then once you're comfortable showing it to your friends and family, show it to strangers. Just show it. And take their comments in. Don't take anything personal. Just make note of it and, move forward. But keep showing it. Push one at a time. And then when you get, milestones, if your first one, you want 100 listens, get 100 listens. Then do the next one. Milestone it and grow. Gradually grow. Now, if someone were to ask me, should I use social media? I would say absolutely yes, because it's a great way to reach out. And then they'd go, well, you don't use social media. And I say, yeah, because I'm on hard mode. I should be using social media, but with my history, I don't like interacting with people. So, but there's a science to success, not just in the music industry, but in any industry. And really, it just comes to how many steps forward are you willing to take? Because once you stop taking steps forward, it's over. So keep going forward in a way that is an asset to you, and that can always give you sort of a quasi win. As long as it meets your milestone, it's a good milestone. Your milestones will grow over time. Your goals will grow over time. And as long as you have something to fall back on, then you have a success. So like, I can look at one of my songs in the past and be like, man, that never really got as big as it did, but it got 200,000 streams. So that's cool. I did something there. Move on to the next one. If I repeat it, then I repeat it. If I don't, I don't, I want to go back to what you said about I'm in my purpose. If I'm in my purpose, then I'm right where I need to be. And that's just the reality of it. That's just something I need to face. And that's the facts that there are. So be it. I can only continue to follow my own advice. And by following my own advice, I'm sure I will always continue to move forward. The rest of the stuff in the music industry, you cannot control. And that's just the truth. But you can control everything that I just said. Keep creating and keep showing people.
Well, we are going to end it on that, because that was a word. That was a word. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't listen to anything else, listen to the last 3 minutes of the podcast, because that was some amazing advice that Belle Vex just dispensed. But one more thing, where can people find you? You're not big on social media, but where can people find you? You have a website?
So you can find me everywhere. My handle is @BelleVex. That's just the handle at every place. I think YouTube, you can find it at @BelleVex and at @BelleVex Official. My website is bellevex.com. Basically, it's just Belle Vex. I am lucky enough to be the only Belle Vex out there. If you throw that in Google, you'll find me. And the last thing I'll say on this is, don't follow me, follow my career.
Mm-hmm. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when you look up Belle Vex, make sure you put an E on the end of that. Don't put in Bell. It's BELLEVEX. Put some respect on it. Belle, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been an absolutely amazing chat that we've had, and I would definitely love for you to come back in the future when you finish that project, because I definitely want to talk about it and help you promote it and get it out there, man. Because I'm always about helping indie artists, next level, whatever. It's all for me. It's all a community. So again, thank you so much for coming on the
Thank
show.
you.
Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you listen to this episode, share it, and all of that other good stuff. Any parting words before we head out?
Well, I want to thank everybody for listening, and I want to thank you for having me on the show. I really enjoyed being here, and I would gladly come back. Everybody, go follow this podcast. Do it. He deserves it.
Well, thank you
And
so
that's it.
much. Listen to what he said. Well, again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on a conversation with myself and the amazing Mr. Belle Vex. Make sure you go listen to his music on all streaming platforms. Let's pump those numbers up. He's not big on that, but you know what? We're not going to listen to Belle on this. Let's get his numbers up, because the gentleman is doing some amazing things. And the fact that his music has a message is an absolute plus. So I will end my shows like I always end them. Love it like a hobby, but treat it like a business. And on that note, everyone, have an absolutely amazing, amazing night. Peace.